Good evening. It's Sunday, November 27th, and you thought that you were already stuffed full with turkey this weekend, yet here we are, three more turkeys that you're here to consume over the next hour. This is Pucknology Writers Room, and tonight we'll go in depth with the Vegas Golden Knights after their name was finally unveiled. We'll also discuss Brent Burns' contract extension, Tomas Hertl's injury, and we actually have breaking news that does not involve Vladimir Sobotka. We encourage you to send in your questions and topics for discussion tonight. And you can be a part of Pucknology Writers Room by commenting in the Google chat or sending your tweets into @Pucknology using the hashtag PucknologyWR. Tonight on the panel we have, once again, Drew Weber.
Guys, right now the Carolina Hurricanes are 4 points ahead of the Arizona Coyotes, so take that, hockey jerk.
And for me, tonight I have a graphic made specially for me. And oh, damn it! Apparently technical difficulty. Should I just placeholder? Should I just wait, stand here or sit here for the next 3 minutes while nothing happens? Well, in the meantime, Ian Reed is your host.
Yeah, I appreciate the booing as always. It's good to be here. It's good to have so many passionate fans. No, huh?
You too, AJ.
Are you ready yet? All right. Welcome to the Pucknology Writers Room. As Kevin said, we got breaking news. We got a lot to get into tonight, as always. So I'm going to get this started. Just basically hot off the press. Breaking news. We probably need a better soundbite for that.
Yeah. We need any soundbite.
We need any soundbite for that. Yeah, no. So we have that guy, Alex Gallant, who got fired in.
If you didn't see Pucknology After Dark, Alex Gallant was called Gerard Gallant last night. And
yeah.
Apparently this played into what just happened.
Well, you know what? I feel bad because I feel like they're like, what's going on in Florida? And then they watched the show last night because everyone watches the show last night. Let's be honest. And then they're like, holy crap, our coach is moonlighting as an AHL enforcer. That's it.
Oh, dear.
No, but seriously, Gerard Gallant gets fired tonight after the loss to the Carolina Hurricanes. I believe it was a 3-2 loss. The Panthers got out to an 11-10-1 start to the season. Of course, Gerard Gallant was named as a nominee for the Jack Adams Award last year, which means that the writing was on the wall for this year.
Yeah. That was after last year when Paul Maurice, what was his name? Bob Hartley won the Jack Adams Award and then was fired after the season. So apparently that award means absolutely nothing these days. A few weeks ago in our season preview, I mentioned that I thought the Florida Panthers would actually miss the playoffs this year after having a record-breaking season last year because their new management or mismanagement, what do you do with a 103-point team? Oh, you completely gut it and turn it into Dallas Stars 2.0. And that's what they did with the defense. So they're not really winning games. And is that really Gerard Gallant's fault, Drew?
No, it is not. That is the fault of the GM, who is apparently now the head coach. So you have a guy who's stirring it up and being like, hey, let's put him behind the bench. Maybe it won't be as bad.
Yeah, no, I feel like the Panthers now, I feel like they've had a run of injuries. Look, I don't closely follow the Florida Panthers, obviously.
I don't think anyone does.
Right, and that might be the problem for them.
A bunch of placeholders do
right now, apparently. So as I talk here, look, I mean, I'm looking at the games played, right? And I feel like, has Huberto even played yet?
No, Huberto is out until March.
Yeah, so I mean that's a huge loss for them, right?
Yeah.
And then like you said, yeah, the defense isn't pretty either.
See, it doesn't make sense because it's like, yeah, you're coming off the best season you've had in a long time, maybe ever. I don't know the history of the Florida Panthers. You're only 2 points out of a playoff spot right now, and I mean, look how well these young players have have kind of morphed into that Panthers group, and that's because of good coaching. Meanwhile, Jack Capuano is sitting in New York being like, hey, I still have a job.
Yeah, if you had, if I had Jack Capuano in that pool and I clearly lost. But yeah, I mean, if you had Gerard Gallant as the first guy to go, then congratulations, you win the first coach to get fired pot. And your reward is
becoming the head coach of the Vegas Golden Knights in just a couple of months.
Bottle of Diet Ocean Spray.
Or that.
Oh God.
Yeah, so I mean, look, it's obviously, to me, I think it doesn't make any sense. Now Tom Rowe, who is the GM and now the new interim head coach, he's not like he hasn't been around. He's coached a ton in the AHL. He coached in the
KHL for Lokomotiv.
Yeah, and he also was on the coaching staff, not the head coach, obviously, but he was on the coaching staff of the Cup-winning Hurricanes team. So, I'm curious to see what he's going to bring to the table. Obviously, he has a lot of minor amateur scouting or minor scouting or coaching, sorry. So I think that, I'm curious to see what he can do with what's relatively a young group in Jaromir Jagr and Roberto Luongo. So that's basically it, right? I mean, it's a bunch of kids, Luongo and Jagr.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think
Yandel's getting up there, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. I just feel like this new management group, they promote Dale Talon and then who do they replace him with? A lawyer with no hockey background. Like, that already should have sent a ton of red flags for the 14 Florida Panthers fans that go to their games.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's going to be the next calamity as far as I'm concerned, especially just here's another domino falling. I can't wait for the next one. I mean, I teased the show tonight by saying, will Jaromir Jagr join the Vegas Golden Knights next season? Well, the way things are going with the Panthers right now, he's probably not going to come back to the Panthers.
If he comes back.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, obviously, Demers and Reimer aren't kids per se, but I mean, they're not Jagr either. That's fair, Sleepy Mofo. I will concede that point. Yeah, so I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this Florida team. I think, Huberdeau being out is huge, though, and I don't think people realize how much of a factor he is to that offense in Florida. So I think that's unfortunate for them, but I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. Jack Capuano is celebrating in the streets, or he's really depressed because he's next. So let's get to some other news. We obviously have the Brent Burns extension, and we're not going to go too heavy into this because obviously it's been talked about all week, and we're kind of, just by the nature of where our show's scheduled, we're the last ones. Like, we're gonna take what little meat's left on that bone, probably just pretend there's meat there as we chew, for the most part. So Brent Burns extension, just first thoughts on it. Drew, I'll start with you.
I mean, it's an extension that had to happen, and pretty much, if you're Doug Wilson and you're in a win now mode, you have to give Brent Burns whatever the hell he wants. You're not going to let him walk. If you did, you're going to pay for it with your job. And yeah, it's a lot. It's 8x8. So you're spending $8 million for 8 years, which is a huge commitment. It's not movable. He signed until he's like 40, but it had to happen. There's no way you can lose Brent Burns, and you're winning now. In 3 or 4 years, you're not a cup contender anymore, probably.
This contract, I feel like, is the way that NHL parity is bad. Because if you become a non-playoff team, you really just fall off the face of the planet. And in order to protect yourself from being one of those teams that's long forgotten for years to come, you have to give these players enormously long deals. Brent Burns right now might be the best defenseman in the league this season and be the winner of the Norris Trophy. So he has all the leverage in the world. And of course, the Sharks wanted to re-sign him as well. But years 6, 7, and 8 of that deal, it's just like Shea Weber signing the deal with Nashville. Like, a lot of people really we're like, what were they thinking? And for one, the Flyers gave him an offer sheet. So it wasn't like Nashville decided, 14 years, that's a good number.
That's a fantastic
Yeah.
with our mid-money team.
Yeah.
See, I'm concerned. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm concerned in like 3 or 4 years when you have to start signing these forwards that are coming up the pipeline, like out of their ELCs. What are you going to do if that Brent Burns contract is looming over you?
Yeah.
Well, I guess Joe Thornton will be gone by then, so you have that
Well,
money.
what you do is you bring in all the management from the Chicago Blackhawks because they seem to continually know how to bring in young players while being strapped at the cap. So
they just live in Russia like, hey, I like this Russian. Bring him over.
Ian, what are your thoughts on the Brent Burns?
My initial reaction was, holy hell, that's too long. And I kind of got really focused on the length of the deal, and I didn't really think about it objectively. The reality of the situation is, the deal's too long. Yeah, it's going to look probably pretty bad at the end. I think that, people are saying, Brent Burns is in good shape. Yes, he is in good shape now. But as you get older, the body breaks down, especially for someone who crashes and bangs like Brent Burns does. That's a really, that style of hockey takes a toll on your body. And thankfully, it hasn't really shown it yet, but you don't know when that's going to show up. So the length I don't like. I would have rather had taken a 5-year deal and given him just whatever, give him max. I don't care for 4 or 5 years, and then be done with it. But I think that, but you had to make this deal. You can't let Brent Burns walk. You have nothing in the pipeline to replace Brent Burns. There's no UFA you can sign that can replace Brent Burns. There's no trade you can make to get Brent, to replace Brent Burns. He is, if Brent Burns isn't here, pull the pin, drop the grenade, and see where everyone lands, because that's basically what you would have to do with the team if you let Brent Burns walk right now. So, is it going to look like an amazing deal later? No, but it looks like a great deal right now because Brent Burns is still in Teal, and we've seen how important Brent Burns is to this offense. And if you think that, it's too long, but if you think that having Brent Burns right now isn't worth it, I don't know what to tell you.
I was at Sharks practice on Tuesday when the deal was signed, basically. I have a feeling he signed the deal before practice, and then it wasn't announced until a couple hours later. But it was quite amusing. I went to Chick-fil-A. Please sponsor us. I went to Chick-fil-A after the practice was over, and Brent Burns was in the drive-thru, and you can't miss him with his giant black van. And then when I got home, there were like maybe 14 cars in the drive-up. When I got home, all of a sudden, breaking news, Brent Burns has signed a contract extension. And I was just like, did he sign his paperwork while he was in line at Chick-fil-A? Like, wow, that just kind of like,
what else are you going to do?
Change of events in 10 minutes.
See, Kevin, the problem with the Chick-fil-A sponsorship is that they won't sponsor us because we air on a Sunday. That's against our management rules.
Okay. And we're going to drift this conversation into another direction. All right. So, like I said, I don't really want to. I know we could probably talk about this for half an hour, but we got a lot to cover tonight. So I'm just going to leave it there. If you want more coverage, it's everywhere at this point because we literally the last ones where we chewed the last little bit of meat off that bone.
But Pucknology.net was one of the first places that had an article up.
Ooh, see, good job, writers.
Yeah.
All right. So Vegas, the official. Vegas, the Golden Knights, the Vegas Golden Knights, not Las Vegas Golden Knights, just Vegas Golden Knights are officially the NHL's 31st franchise. First, where did the loss go? Did the loss get lost?
Aha. See, that doesn't make sense to me why the ownership would take it out. Like, people are going to say the Vegas Golden Knights. They probably weren't going to say the Las Vegas Golden Knights because that's what you do. You don't say Las Vegas, you say Vegas. But I find it interesting that that the owner would do it, or that, the people who made this decision would just be like, nah, screw loss. We're just going to Vegas.
Screw it. All right.
Yeah, my first thought to it was, well, everything else has had a copyright issue with this franchise, so I guess Las Vegas Golden Knights was copyrighted also, but actually, when I looked it up, they filed a trademark for both Las Vegas and just Vegas. So it really was their
it's
decision.
a mouthful, no? It seemed like 4 words just seems like a mouthful for a team name.
So it's Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, it's not.
Well, at least it's one word. But I mean, if you look at using Tampa Bay as an example, I mean, the baseball team was originally the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, and now it's just the Rays, right? So
yeah.
Maybe they got out ahead of it and said, well, we're never gonna. Maybe they're not gonna drop. Maybe if they drop the Golden, maybe they'll be the Las Vegas Knights at some point. But I just think it's a mouthful.
I definitely think it'll eventually be the Las Vegas Knights, because you got to go with Vegas Knights. But I mean, you're not going to call them the Angeles Kings, or a lot of times you don't say New Jersey, you say Jersey, but we don't call them the Jersey Devils because that's an actual animal. So the York Islanders, I mean, New York's not really new either, but come on. I don't know. I don't know.
I think there's a city in England that would be really pissed if we use the word York without the word new in front of it.
Well, I guess that we're going to have to make another New York, and then this one can be like older New York or something. I don't know. But that's off topic. But I feel like, at least on the bright side, it got people to stop saying, it should have been the Aces or the Jokers or something with gambling. Get over it. We've known it's going to be the Knights for months.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Yeah.
It's not exactly news.
What'd you think of the logo, though, guys?
I like the primary logo. I think the primary logo is fantastic. I don't care for the secondary logo at all. It looks like, I don't know. I feel like my daughter could have drawn that. And
See, I like the primary logo because I felt like really cool when I noticed there was a V in the helmet. I'm like, I'm smart. I saw that.
Yay!
Yeah, I like the logo too. Eric Landy's hashtag Landy's Laundry. He pointed out that maybe the logo should have been angled a little bit more, because it is kind of weird that it's just dead on. But I'm guessing that the London Knights probably would have said something about that. I mean, they couldn't use the Knights because of the London Knights. And
they never talked out loud. I see, and here's the thing. I mean, I was talking to. I kind of jumped into a conversation that John Wold was having on this thing, because that's what I do on Twitter. Sometimes I barge into conversations like I'm cool, and I like to talk to the cool kids. And I said, it's not like the rights would have been. I don't think they would have been overly difficult to have, which he countered with, but they just paid $500 million for the team, so obviously they probably didn't want to, spend even more money now trying to pay off the Knights so that they could use the Knights trademark in Canada. But to me, I'm just like, I just feel like it wouldn't be hard unless London really puts the screws to them. But I don't know why they would, because they're kind of, all that management's basically in the NHL family at this point. So
right.
All that ownership. So I don't know why they wouldn't throw. I don't know why they wouldn't throw Vegas a bone, to be completely honest. Like, I would, if I'm London, I'm taking a percentage of whatever revenues your merchandise is generating in Canada, and I'm calling it a day, just basically forever. We're going to take this cut of any, Knights revenue any Knights stuff that you sell in Canada, we're taking a cut and we're happy forever. I don't know.
All right. To those in the chat who say it's not a Knight helmet, yeah, I get it. I do get it. But this is technically Knight's armor as well, and that's definitely not what you usually think of when you think of a Knight. So, yeah, it's a little bit loosely based, but yeah, it's fine.
There's still Knights in the desert. This isn't gonna end well.
At least it's not the Desert Knights. Ugh.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, it's whatever. I like the V. I'm fine with the logo. I think it's, in the chat they just brought up that, Hockey News just did a logo thing and somehow the Knights have the best thing, and I think that sometimes these things happen and you just kind of have to follow the money on that. I mean, yeah, I guess. Like, I don't think it's it's just new and shiny, and I think it falls down that list pretty quickly again. I think there's, it's a nice logo. Don't get me wrong. I really like it, but the best in the NHL, it's just because it's brand spanking new.
The best in the NHL is clearly that old school Coyotes jersey with the hockey stick. Come on, that you can't beat that. Best jersey ever.
Damn right. Coyote. All right, what do we got here? Okay, so we're all. I mean, I don't really have an issue with the name. We knew it was going to be Knight something, so I'm fine. Golden Knights, sure, why not? So last week when we got a bunch of questions in, J Clark 5000 asked us to draft a Vegas fantasy team, and so we did. And he asked for two, and I only did one. He just kind of said way out there, and you know what? I don't do way out there like just randomly. Like I can't turn my brain off.
It's against our hockey religion.
Yeah, I can't turn my brain off. Like I know it's like the other thing that always gets me too is it's like make some bold prediction. I hate bold predictions because I mentally need to keep it safe in my brain, right? Like everything needs to add up before I spit it out on the internet. So I know bold predictions are always garbage.
Yeah, I know how you feel. I'm not a fan of bold predictions because I knew the Hurricanes were going to make the playoffs no matter what.
Oh Jesus! All right.
Well, they knocked out a head coach, so they
did. That's how good they are. They can get coaches fired.
So I'm gonna take control of the screen here, and give me a second here. I gotta mess around.
You're gonna get my
notes.
So
all right. So this is Kevin's
watching. Yeah, for those of you watching on YouTube, we actually have our lists in graphical form for you.
I will post these lists on the post when I make it for the show. So if you are listening late on the audio stream and you want to actually see the graphics for whatever reason, go to Pucknology. If the show is up, then they're probably already there, and you can see it there. Unless you'd like put it like as soon as I put the audio stream up, then you're crazy. All right, so let me get this going here. Just one moment.
In the meantime, while you're getting that up,
sorry,
no, that's fine. The Vegas practice facility that is being built is in Summerlin, which I think is actually a great choice because if they want to have that team have longevity, they need to kind of build up the area, with grassroots hockey programs and whatnot for the community. And so sure enough, they are actually, I see wait a minute, placeholders. Come on. Oh, geez, we can't even get it right. Oh, dear.
I know. All right.
Oh, my goodness.
I need to stop sharing for a second, and then I'll go back to sharing when I get the actual. I just want to make sure I get I want to make sure I've got everything kind of going here. So. Yeah.
But so the practice facility is going to be in Summerlin, and it's right in the middle of a booming community that is on the rise. And so I think is a fantastic location. However, it is a half hour from where the T-Mobile Arena will be, and with traffic and them actually having to go all the way through the strip to reach their arena, that's going to be a little frustrating for players if they were to say live by the practice facility. So,
all right.
Okay, so Drew Weber's Golden Knights.
Oh, I'm going first?
I guess
sorry.
So.
It's just the way that I just want to toggle through the pictures without having to unshare, move to the next one. Sorry, it's the way it is. Deal with
Of course, I sent mine backwards, too.
Oh, that's fine.
All right, so this is, the back end of my Golden Knights team. Defenseman, I have Green from New Jersey, Stone, we got Alsner, Myers, Marchenko, Weidman. Those are your top 6 guys right there. I'm surprised some of them were available according to the experts. And by the way, when I did this, I did not protect the players myself. I let the, quote, experts do it. So if you're going to complain about someone being available, it's not my fault. Going down to the more depth guys, we got Trevor Van Riemsdyk from Chicago. We got Griffin Reinhart as the why the hell not pick. We got my boy Matt Tennyson from the Carolina Hurricanes. Apparently I have Trevor Van Riemsdyk again.
He wanted to get James, but they had to get Trevor twice.
And then I have some Arneson guy who I'm not totally familiar with, but I needed to stay under the cap.
I can tell you all about Linus Arneson.
My goaltenders for Hockey Jerk, I got Live by the Sword, Do Die by the Sword as my third string guy. He's been playing well with LA. As my backup, I've got Markstrom from Vancouver. And as my starter for now and for the future, I've got Matt Murray from the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it is fantastic. Slushy, I said I didn't make the guys who are available as the experts. It's not my fault.
Yeah. No, look, there's that. I have Matt Murray on my list too. I don't think he's going to be available, but I thought you know, I was trying to do it, and I was trying to go through my head like guys that are going to get moved around and stuff before, and you know what? I'm just working with what was there today, because when you try and think too far ahead of it, then it gets really, really murky really quick. Go ahead with your forwards, Drew.
All right, my forward group, I've got UC Jokinen, Carl Soderberg, Jacob Silverberg, because I did not take Cam Fowler. That's like my first line right there. My second line would go Patrick Sharp, Mikael Granlund, and Palat. Then I've got Holland, Smith, Strome. And then from the San Jose Sharks, we got Matt Nieto, who will be a scratch.
Wow.
We've got Boone Jenner, who had a great year with the Columbus Blue Jackets and apparently will be available, according to the experts. We've got Hayes from the New York Rangers, Dale Rose, because I need to stay under the cap. We've got Lawton, who's pretty young, centerman for the Philadelphia organization. You might have some talent to him. And then I got Doopy because I needed to stay under the cap.
All right, so there is Drew Weber's Las Vegas Knights, and basically what we're going to do is we're going to go through like our list, and then I think we're going to kind of go through like the choices we made. Not super, because we don't want to be here for all night, but we're going to look at like some of the teams where, some of the guys that we saw were available and how we kind of made our choice from there. So stay tuned for that.
Drew, you mentioned Kevin Hayes. You, as AJ Strong would say, you ignorant slut, because you should have also taken Jimmy Hayes to unite the brothers.
Oh my God.
His brothers must be always. So in my list, here's how I did my list before I go through the names. One of the things that I did was I didn't take any pending UFAs. So if they were UFAs, I didn't protect them. I didn't draft them. I'm not going to pretend who's going to get re-upped and who's not going to get re-upped and who might sign in that window. I just I made note of some of the UFAs, but here is the team that I took. My forwards are Evander Kane, Mike Camilleri, Colin Wilson, Cody Eakin, Matt Reed, Mark Stone, sorry. I'm going to just Don Cherry all these names. I have Stempniak, Yakupov, Sheehan from Detroit. I have Nolan, Beagle. From the Sharks, I went with Melker Karlsson. With the Sharks, I went 8-1, and I'll explain that later. From the Montreal, I have Torrey Mitchell, because I think that, he has no hands, but he can win a face-off. And you kind of need one of those guys, and Torrey Mitchell, I think, is criminally underrated in the face-off dot. I have Eric Halla for AJ. Whatever, from Florida. Thank you. And then obviously I had to make some picks for cap reasons, because I went way over on my initial list. So I took Mark O'Donnell from Winnipeg. I took Marcus Granlund from Minnesota. I took Kirby Reichel from Toronto, and Cedric Paquette from the Tampa Bay Lightning. Some other, I have a couple names, sorry, twice. Apparently Yakupov and Sheehan are now defensemen. They're all forwards. In Colorado, I took Barry. I took TJ Brody out of Calgary, which I think is a team we'll talk about later. I took Johansson from Columbus. I took Cam Fowler from Anaheim. I think with Anaheim, it's really between Fowler and Silverberg, and I don't know. We can discuss that later. I took Kevin Miller from Boston, Thomas Hickey from the Islanders, and Trevor Van Riemsdyk from Chicago. My goaltenders, I took Matt Murray as my starter. I have Antti Ranta as my backup, and as my up-and-coming, I rated the prospect pool of the Edmonton Oilers and took Brisson as a guy who could, be in the minors to give whoever you're sharing with a couple of players to play with, obviously. In your minor league system. Next up is the team of Mr. Kevin Lacey.
Well, thank you, Ian. So I also did what Ian did, in that I took no impending unrestricted free agents, because Vegas does have an opportunity to sign UFAs before the draft. And if they do, then they will forego selecting from that team during the expansion draft. So if, say, Ben Bishop were to sign with the I'm going to keep calling them the Las Vegas Knights, the Vegas Golden Knights, then they would not take a player from Tampa Bay in that instance. However, if Ben Bishop says, no, I don't want to go there, then why would they bother drafting him? That would be a complete waste of a pick. So for the forwards, I took Lee Stempniak, Cam Atkinson, which was probably my biggest marquee forward for the team. Michael Frolik, Mikhail Grigorenko. Now I can't even say the names. Darren Helm, Zach Cassian, Dustin Brown, who I'll get to in a minute. Philippe Deneau, Bo Bennett, Craig Smith, Oscar Lindbergh, Ryan Zingle, Nick Cousins, Long Beach native Matt Nieto, Alex Killorn, Brandon Sutter, and Matthew Perreault. On defense, Cam Fowler headlines a group with Luke Shen, Zach Bogosian, Trevor Van Riemsdyk, Ludwig Beestrom, Marco Scandella, Ryan Pulak, Martin Marinchin, and Dmitry Orlov. And then the goaltending, of course I'm going to go with Matt Murray, because until he or Fleury are moved, it's got to be Matt Murray. Also James Reimer, Phoenix Copley, and Malcolm Subban.
Ooh. All right, I believe that is that. So let me stop sharing here for a second and close this down.
Because we don't like sharing.
No, I don't like sharing.
Sharing is bad.
I can't see the chat. Like, this is driving me nuts. So yeah, so there you go, guys. That was our teams, and I thought, let's go. I'm gonna just kind of go through the list here, and if it merits conversation, we'll discuss quickly. If not, we'll pass. So I think Anaheim, I think it's between Fowler and Silfverberg, and the reason I took Fowler and I protected Silfverberg is it just feels to me like Cam Fowler, I mean, before he had that hot start, was the guy who was just the de facto guy out. Anaheim still a cap team internally. So I feel like Fowler's if they don't trade him before the deadline, that's a contract they want to get off their books. So I think Silfverberg would be the guy you protect. Any disagreements there or any thoughts?
Drew, you picked Silfverberg, right?
I picked Silfverberg because I did my forwards first. And when I saw Silfverberg was available, because when I was kind of going through my team, I wanted it to be a good scoring team, because that's what's going to put butts in the seats, is good, solid scoring for now. As much as I love the defensive part of the game, it doesn't attract fans. So I went with the forward as over the defenseman.
There you go. Arizona, I mean, pick your depth forward, really, right? I mean, there's going to be a bunch of depth guys you could have there, but I think it's probably going to be a forward that comes out of Arizona. For Boston, I think this is another 7-3-1 team, and I think it's going to be between Bolesky or Miller for Boston for me. I think if you're looking at there's probably some depth, there's probably some prospects or other guys that are probably worth looking at, but I think if you're looking at, you're looking for NHL ready now guys, I think those are the two you choose between. Buffalo, same thing. This is a team with a lot of, probably interesting pending RFAs and stuff. But I think if you're looking at the NHL ready, you're looking at Matt Molson or Evander Kane. Calgary. Calgary is going to be, I think Calgary was an interesting one because this is a team where I think I went 7-3-1 with Calgary, and that's why TJ Brody was up for grabs. I think for all the stuff that is said about Dougie Hamilton, I think the important thing to remember, I think for a lot of these teams too, is that, you have to protect young defensemen. You don't just trade for or get young defensemen without drafting and developing them. So, to me, it was like TJ Brody, or I think I protected Jyrki Jokipaka, Giordano, and Dougie Hamilton is who I protected from that team. And that, that leads TJ Brody out. I think, but there's a couple of guys like Poirier, and then you have Dennis Weidman, who's also a UFA that you could talk to. So I'm just trying to think of a couple of things here that are interesting, right?
I think it's interesting because you mentioned keep young defensemen, but you exposed Brody. Like, you think Jokipaka has more overall upside than Brody? Or is it just a thing of Brody's not having a great season this year? That's why he would be exposed.
I think that you're going to have to, make, I don't know if it's hard because you don't want to just give away young defensemen. And I know that Brody's good, but Brody's making also a lot of money. And I think that there's, I think that cap number, I think cap hits are going to come into a place because, Calgary's going to be one of these teams that has all these young players coming up that are going to need deals. And in order to do that, I would, I would want to take a guy like Yoki Paka and, maybe move some cap space so I have enough room to, keep signing these guys that you have coming up that have, rung the bell.
Yeah. And you mentioned Arizona. I feel like Arizona, who are they going to protect? Everybody who's valuable for them are exempt. Yeah. So I think that Arizona is in a prime situation where if you have a team like Columbus, who have a lot of good pieces and they can't protect all of them, they're poised to get a decent forward, at least for cheap. Like, I was looking at the list going, Jamie McGinn is one of my protected assets for the Coyotes. Jamie McGinn? Like, okay, he's a nice player, but come on. I mean, you're talking like the Sharks are protecting Joe Thornton and, and their so-called worst player is Chris Tierney, and I'd rather have Chris Tierney than Jamie McGinn any day. I'm just like, the Coyotes could actually benefit maybe more than the Golden Knights will out of this draft.
Yeah. I think Dallas is obviously going to put a goalie up. I think they protect Niemi because he's cheaper. But I don't think a goalie gets taken from Dallas. I think they stick with
there's too many other good goalies available.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's unfortunate there's so many UFAs too. I think when those UFAs kind of sort out, I think it'll be interesting to see, like I said, to do this again when you have a situation where the protected lists are released or whatever. I think that's going to be when this will be really fun to do instead of trying to figure out who's going to get protected and then make the team based on that. Detroit's another one of those teams. They have two players, right? You have Mrazek and Howard, and man, flip a coin because it seems like that's what they do to decide who's going to be good now. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize I was hogging the camera. My bad.
So Puck Guy, just to kind of bring it up, was asking us what our captains would be.
Jaromir Jagr when he signs via free agency.
What's the taxes like in Vegas, though?
No. I don't think Jagr will sign with Las Vegas because of the fact that he's always been an East Coast guy. I mean, we saw how well that worked with Dallas in the Central Time Zone. He was like, "Oh, all this travel."
Oh, poor guy. I don't even know. Let me see. Who would I pick as my captain? I got to look at my list again. Now, why are you doing this to me?
Speaking of free agents, it's not just the expansion draft for this team that'll catch people's eye. They can actually go in and sign college free agents when everybody else starts doing that, or unsigned junior free agents in March and April. So one of the things I've been reading up on is what will Vegas do with their minor league team, because they may not have enough players to even field a minor league team.
My understanding is they're sharing a minor league team. I just don't know with who they're sharing an NHL team with.
Yeah, jumping ahead, I think it'll be Colorado, but that's off the side there. But I mean, they could end up with a good 6, 7, 8 players before they even name anyone in the expansion draft. So.
Right. Yeah, I'm trying to think here. I'm just going to kind of go through. I think I mean Edmonton's another thing like Arizona where it's like pick your depth guy. Trying to think of another interesting team. I think Minnesota is an interesting team because there's just they're just going to lose a good player. I think. They're one of those teams where I mean you could take you could look at Kemper for goaltending as a UFA. You could look at Eric Stahl, who's had an okay season so far. You could look at Haula. Jonas Brodin's another guy who I think they're going to have a hard time, protecting. There's so many choices of who to protect there that I think there's going to be some really, really good players left on the board. And Nashville's obviously super interesting because Nashville, you have to, do they protect all their defensemen and go 8-1, or do they protect some forwards? Because I feel like in Nashville, and I don't know, you guys can chime in on this in a second, you either, you're going to lose Ryan Ellis or you're going to lose one of Colin Wilson, Yarncroc, or Arvidsson. And I don't know. It's like, this is a team that has a pretty, they have defensemen in the tank, right? So it's not like they always seem to develop another defenseman, but whew, that's a tough one.
Yeah. I have Nashville losing Craig Smith.
That's what I picked as
the guys you mentioned. For the fact that I do think Nashville will go 8-1, and they're basically going to have to intentionally saturate their exposure by going, okay, well, we're going to lose somebody, so we're going to have Colin Wilson and Craig Smith and Kelly Yarncroke and maybe Victor Arvidsson on there.
Mm-hmm.
You can only have one, and it sucks for us, but you can't have them all. So make the decision for us kind of deal with Nashville. Because I do think that they will protect 4 defensemen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's that's going to be the big choice for them. I'm just trying to go through the list and try and find some other interesting teams.
Columbus is in kind of a similar situation with all the forwards they have. But how bad does that David Clarkson deal look now with the no movement clause? Like, they thought they were getting saved from Nathan Horton's contract, and then now they have to protect David Clarkson.
What about the Flyers? What did you guys, when you guys were doing the Flyers? I think the Flyers are another interesting team where you have to wonder what they're going to do as far as, how many forwards they're going to protect versus, because they have a good defensive, they got a good little defensive core there too. A good young defensive core, and they've only got more guys coming up the pipeline. So I think with them, I went 7-3-1 with them because they just have so much coming up. Like they've got Provorov coming up. They've got Provorov. That's all they need. I just kind of like drew a blank there all of a sudden.
Goss to spare.
Yeah, Goss to spare, obviously, but I mean he's already there. I was just thinking like actually coming up.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
Who am I thinking?
I think Philly is fine to go 7-3-1 though, because they have so many young defensemen coming up the pipeline that I have Vegas taking a forward from them, and I believe both of you do, don't you?
Yeah, I picked Scott Lawton.
Yeah,
right.
And I have Nick Cousins, and Ian, I lost who you had, but
I had
Matt Reed.
Matt Reed.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's a situation for them where if they were to have a defenseman taken from them, Provorov and Sanheim and Moran and
Moran and
like
it just goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
The Penguins was a difficult one because I don't think that, I feel like somewhere before this all goes down, Marc-Andre Fleury is going to get moved. Murray's going to be protected. Like I took Murray because he was the best goalie that wasn't a UFA that had some term left. I mean, I could not take him based on where things are today, but I don't see that being a thing. And then I don't even know what you could pull from them otherwise because there's not really a whole lot there.
No, really.
You think
UFA
You think that Marc-Andre Fleury? A lot of people are talking about him going to Dallas. You think he finds himself as a Coyote? Because protecting Mike Smith or Louis Domingue, but protecting Marc-Andre Fleury.
See, and I didn't look at Mike Smith's. I don't remember Mike Smith's contract status. Does he have a no move? Like, would that work?
No. You know what? You might be right, actually.
I'm not sure if he does. I don't think he does have a no move, but then if you're Arizona, you'd probably want to protect him unless you think Domingue's ready to fill in, or you go get a goalie, like you said.
Yeah, he doesn't have a no move back.
Oh well, then you move him to Pittsburgh. You protect Murray. You leave, but the problem is with that is with Mike Smith is that's a pretty significant contract number.
Yeah,
that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money for a guy that Vegas probably doesn't take, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Sharks. Let's get to the Sharks here. I went 8-1. And I go back and forth on this all the time. And the reason that I went 8-1 was based on where the Sharks are at today. As of today, Joe Thornton doesn't need to be protected because he doesn't have a contract. Marleau doesn't need protected. I wouldn't protect Marleau anyway. So you can throw your rotten vegetables at your screen right now. So based on that, it doesn't make sense to lose Schlemko when you can protect basically your key guys, your Pavelskis, your Hurdles, your Couture, and I also protected Chris Tierney because Donskoy doesn't need to be protected, so he's fine. So based on what was left, I mean, you're going to basically give them, they're going to be able to take a Bodker. Please, thank you.
Please take Bodker.
Joe Ward. I would be upset to see Wardo go, but that's another guy who is signed for decent money for a decent length, and I really like Joel Ward, but I don't know what the last 2 years of that deal look like, or last year of that deal. Melker Karlsson was a guy that I'd like to protect, but I just didn't think it was worth losing Schlemko over, and that's who I had them taking. Matt Nieto obviously is another guy who's an RFA, so you might not own the player, but you own the rights. And then Paul Martin would be exposed, and Brendan Dillon, of course. So you're going to lose a player. You're going to lose a good player either way if you're the Sharks. But I feel like if you're that hung up on Schlemko, you can't. I can't get behind this. We're not going to protect Braun silliness.
I can't either. I like Justin Braun way too much.
Well, I think
you're such tough competition.
Sorry, I've been talking forever. Kevin, go.
I just wanted to say I feel like that the Sharks fans get a little spoiled by Justin Braun because the Sharks fans see him all the time. So when he does make a mistake, or when any player makes a mistake, it's easy to pick on them. The Sharks went to the Stanley Cup Finals last year, and every year that there is an international tournament, Justin Braun is always in the conversation for Team USA. He's only represented them one of those times, but he's always in the conversation. So how is he suddenly exposable? Yeah, there are some other good D-men around, but if you're in another market and you go, or especially if you're in Vegas and you go, we can get Justin Braun, sold.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I don't understand this hesitation about, oh, maybe they shouldn't because he tripped over the puck one game.
See, Braun's like Vlasic was like 4 or 5 years ago. Really, really solid, top pair shutdown defenseman, but is like super underappreciated because that's what he is. He's a shutdown defenseman. Mm-hmm. Is he as good as Vlasic? No, but he's pretty freaking good, and they've been consistently good every freaking year together.
And it's like, that's the thing, right? Like, Braun draws the tough assignments. He draws tougher assignments than Schlemko. Like, I understand that he's made Brendan Dillon look good at hockey, and that's amazing. But at the same time, I think, like, here's the thing. And I understand that people are like, well, it's fine when Martin made Burns look good. Yes, because Burns contributes significantly on the offensive end of the puck. So whereas you have a guy like Paul Martin to come in and be that's fine. You don't need that for your sixth defenseman. Like, it's not like, yes, okay, Dillon looks a lot better this year than he has looked previously. I can concede that. However, does he look, is he looking that much better where it's like, oh my God, Schlemko is now, not expendable because Brendan Dillon looks good? No, then find someone who can be better. I don't know. This is meh. I think, I'm going to skip through. I think, Tampa Bay is another team that's going to lose a good player. They have too many players, and they're going to lose a good one. Toronto's going to be interesting. I think Toronto, they might lose one of their lower end guys, but these are the guys that have made their thing. Or you can take a prospect from Toronto to kind of keep your cap down. They've got, God knows, they have tons of prospects at this point. And the other team I wanted to talk about was the Jets, because I think that's another interesting, what do you do there, right? Do you go, that's another 8-1 or 7-3, 7-3-1 team. The thing that people have to remember with Winnipeg is that right now Jacob Trouba's on the team, and if Jacob Trouba is still on my team come the expansion draft, I am protecting him.
Yeah, I think that right now, since it is November 27th, it's too early to tell. I mean, we made our teams as of right now, and it's too early to tell who will be moved and whatnot. Like, a bunch of the guys I have, Trevor Van Riemsdyk, Matt Murray, I can't think of, there's two other guys, Malcolm Subban. I think all of those guys will be traded by the time the draft comes, and there will be a completely different lineup.
Yeah.
Like, we were talking, Ian and I were talking about Antti Ranta last night. I actually think he is who will be taken from the Rangers overall, but as it stands right now, why would you take Antti Ranta when you can get Matt Murray?
100%. And there's another situation where I think Winnipeg, another city, you look at a goalie because you have Hellebuck's getting it protected, but Hutchinson's a good, he's a serviceable backup / 1A at and at best he's an NHL backup. Oh damn, you kind of.
Oh no.
Right. Like, so I think that I think for Winnipeg, I think that's interesting. The problem, again, going back to what I was trying to say, though, is Tyler Myers. Basically, you have to decide if you're going to expose, Matthias Burmistrov and Dano or Tyler Myers.
Yeah.
And that's what it's going to come to. And I know Burmistrov's not having a great season, and I know that eventually you're going to lose Jacob Trouba, and probably without any expectation. And you're obviously going to need a defenseman to come back in. But man, some of those forwards, I don't know if I'd be so willing to just give them up.
I kind of wanted to have Tyler Myers in my group just so I'd have Bogosian and Myers in the same group. And I'd be like, what was the whole point of that? That trade years ago.
Right. So, I mean, that's basically that. That was awesome. I mean, I thought we had a lot of fun doing it, even if some of us did cram it in the last minute. I did for sure. But no, I appreciate stuff like that. I mean, it was great food fodder. I mean, it ate basically.
Who sent that question in?
That was J Clark 5000.
Oh, thank you for that.
Yes,
J Clark.
All right. So we have some injuries, obviously, to talk about a little bit, right? I want to kind of go through this quick, but so far nothing on Vlasic, which is sad.
Please be healthy, dear God.
Yes, I know. Like, I don't even want to think about. Don't even want to think about it. You know what? It's going to be interesting. I would deploy the lines for what. Poor Gaudreau, man. Like, he walked in, kicked Peter DeBoer's dog, got sent back down, got called back up, scratched. Like, what does he have to do to get in the lineup?
He has to be Michael Haley.
Apparently.
Or be a centerman.
Like, I'm trying to think of, not to be, lewd about this, right? But you know where my thought process is.
Mm-hmm.
I will leave that out there for the adults listening to the show, and the kids will be like, what? Or they'll probably know too. Who am I kidding?
Barclay Goodrow, I still think we'll end up on Las Vegas next. Barclay Goodrow, UC Jokinen. I don't know why, but I just feel like they'll end up there somehow on Vegas.
I took UC Jokinen.
All right. What else? This Garrett Sparks thing. I want to talk about.
No.
Here we go.
All right. What do you guys think? This suspension here. What did you guys? Any just I don't want to obviously dwell on this for too long, but I'm curious for your thoughts.
The suspension is stupid because what he said, I don't personally, as a male, I did not think that was too bad because basically all he said was, "You whine like a 13-year-old girl," kind of thing. Like, that's what this whole thing is about, is saying, quote, "You whine like a 13-year-old girl." The context, right. I mean, you can look into the context kind of thing. But, I mean, I don't know. I probably shouldn't say anything because my Twitter will on my head at the end of this.
I'm going to kill all our listeners. It's going to be great.
All right, okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, I can understand
Don't say anything that you shouldn't say, just like Garrett Sparks.
But it's like, okay, girls are offended. What if I'm 13? Am I offended if I'm 13 because he said you whine like a 13-year-old and then said girl? I'm not mad at that if I'm 13. But I mean, I don't know. I think it's a lot of overreaction, honestly.
Kevin?
It's like this, we live in the politically correct era and whatnot. Wasn't in the movie Rookie of the Year, the baseball movie, wasn't there a line about you pitch like a girl? And you know what? Everybody laughs. That line is funny, but oh no, a pro athlete said it and you get suspended.
Even worse is what was the name of the group? It was Goalie Gear Sluts?
Goalie Gear Sluts, something like that. And for those of you who don't know the context behind this whole thing, apparently someone was trolling a special needs person who was wanted to be a goalie and wanted to buy goalie gear, and Garrett Sparks was helping them out, doing a good deed. And someone started trolling them and bad-mouthing them, and Garrett Sparks stood up for them and then proceeded to call him a 13-year-old girl. And
after saying he was going to beat him up and stuff like that. It's not the physical violence they're mad about.
No, it's and that's the thing that gets me, right? Is okay, so for one, here's the thing. I mean, obviously, you look at when you're a person in social media, you have to do things. Sometimes you have to button your mouth a little bit. I do this a lot. I'm going to tell you right now, like when I am on my Twitter feed, I try to very rarely, unless it's something that really just burns my ass, I'm not going to get political on Twitter because I don't want to lose followers over my political beliefs. I would rather, like, you come for the hockey, stay for the hockey. I'm fine with that. I understand that that's the relationship I have with most of my followers. They follow me for my hockey thoughts, not my communist propaganda. I only say that because I'm Canadian. So you know what I mean? Like I get that. But the thing that irks me about this, because I say some really dumb shit in private Facebook groups, but nothing's private on the internet. And it's unfortunate because I feel like it was in a private group. It wasn't like he went off the handle and like tweeted this out for everyone to see, right?
Right.
Like that's the part that bothers me about this, is that, you know, whatever. But it's so okay. Can we not be so sensitive? Can we try and just not look? Because I feel like a problem with our society now is not only do we get offended by stupid shit, we look for stupid shit to be offended by. And I wish we would stop. And I'm not saying, there's things that are said on the internet that are not cool, but you know, oh, you whine like a 13-year-old girl, big freaking deal. I have a 6-year-old girl. She whines all the time. It's not like it isn't factual. Like, I just, can we not get upset, like so upset about these things? These things should not be blown out of proportion as they are. Now, that being said, it's there. He's employed by an organization. He represents that organization, which is one of the most biggest money-making entities in the entire NHL. So I get that, you know, when you have to take these things into consideration when you do stupid things in public. Who do you work for? Who are you representing? And that's why I do a very, you know, I will say things on air that I probably shouldn't sometimes. I say things in the Google chat that sometimes I shouldn't. You know, these are the times we live in. And I try not to say them, you know, I try not to be offensive to people, but at the same time, it's like, sometimes can you just laugh at something? Like, can we just laugh once in a while? And I'm not saying we have to laugh at every, you know, marginally offensive thing that's said. I think there's a line. I just feel like in this case, this is stupid media for the sake of media, and the suspension is beyond a joke, in my opinion. It's a joke.
I still can't get over, like, literally, you can tell a guy that I'm going to come to where you live and beat you into an effing pulp, but you can't say you whine like a 13-year-old girl. That's where the line is.
That's right.
Yeah.
How stupid is that?
Half the Vancouver Canucks bench can make threats against David Backes' wife, and that's okay. But Garrett Sparks can't call someone a 13-year-old.
Yeah, like who was yelling in the hallway about killing somebody after in Vancouver? Like that's fine. Yeah, no, kill people. That's great. You know, threaten their livelihood. Like, it's just, but there's certain things where just like mountains get made out of nothing. When Zach, no, who was it? It was, oh, help me out. Nazem Kadri made the throat slashing gesture.
Oh yeah.
Like, come on, big deal. Like, it's a game where emotions get the better of you. And I'm not saying that, you know, again, I'm not saying that there aren't things out there where there should be lines somewhere. But I feel like the lines have gotten drawn closer and closer and closer. There's too many lines now. And to me, I'm old. I don't get it. It bothers me. So there's my old man yelling at me.
Garrett Sparks, none of us are Maple Leafs fans, but we're with you on this.
We're with you.
We got you.
Kevin, let's talk some Barracuda quick before we get the hell out of here.
So kind of big news. Troy Grosnick, who we've talked about a lot with his off-season, training regimen and whatnot, and he got off to a pretty good start this year. Yeah, he's out indefinitely. He did something, lower body injury in the middle of the first period on Tuesday night. Mantis Armalis, who had been struggling, and I'm trying not to really jinx this, but Mantis Armalis had a very strong out. I can't talk now. I said Mantis Armalis, but I can't finish the rest of the sentence. Go figure. He had a very strong outing in relief. Unfortunately, they lost that game to Bakersfield, but on Friday they beat Bakersfield, and then last night they beat Ontario, and Armalis was in net for both. Looked pretty good. And then Danny O'Regan had his one-game call-up on Monday. and then was reassigned on Tuesday.
Mhm.
I believe he had 2 points that night, goal and an assist against Bakersfield. And then last night he had 3 more points, or was it Friday? I'm getting my games confused now. But Danny O'Regan still tearing up the AHL. So, yeah, Barracuda had a very nice weekend.
Yeah, no, I agree. The other player that has really stood out to me since he's come back is Adam Haluka. Has looked really, really good since coming back. After missing the start of the season, he's looked really, really good as well. I mean, it's nice to see that guys are looking better. I'd like to see. I feel like Timo's penalties are starting to melt away finally.
Yeah, he's tied with he was tied with Gerard Gallant there.
Gerard Gallant, Alex Gallant. Whatever. Yeah, he was tied with Gallant for a while, and that's obviously you do not want your star winger to be pulling in the same penalty minutes as your enforcer, as your AHL enforcer, no less.
Oh dear. Timo will be fine. I wrote an article. Last week I talked about I was going to write an article. I actually got it out last week on the Barracuda's progress through Thanksgiving. Please check it out on pucknology.net. One of the things I discussed was how everybody keeps wanting Timo Meier to be recalled, and he's looking good, but give him some time. Give him some time.
Let's not Mirko Mueller this.
Let's not Mirko Mueller this.
Yeah. And I also talked about why Mirko Mueller is now the number 4 defenseman on the Barracuda.
Oh man, yeah. So that's something what I kind of wanted to end with the Barracuda. I know I'd like to dedicate some time to Barracuda, but we're running long because we always run long. So I feel bad for if you listen specifically for Barracuda stuff. I know this is going to be a little disappointing, but yay Barracuda. If Vlasic is down for any period of time, do you call up a D-man, and who is it?
I don't think you do, because Braun and DeMello played together before, and they still drew like Anshe Kopitar in that game, and they shut him down just fine. So I think you make that the bottom D pair. You throw Braun and DeMello in the bottom D pair. You can shelter DeMello if you want, but you have Martin Burns take those top pairing minutes. You let Schlemko and Dillon take those 3-4 slots, and then move Braun and DeMello down.
Yeah, you have to give DeMello time. I mean, how many times have we said, and pucknologists and Pucknology After Dark talk about, what does Dylan DeMello have to do to get into a game? Well, apparently he needs to poison the water of Brendan Dillon and Mark Edward Vlasic, because he finally got into the lineup. Yeah, unless both Dillon and Vlasic are out the next game, just leave the roster as it is. If there is someone who needs to be called up, I'm biased. I would go with Small Martin, Joachim Ryan. I think he's the most rounded defenseman they could call up. But I actually think that he has regressed slightly this season in an expanded role, no less. But Tim Heed has looked very good for the Barracuda. Definitely an offensive inclined defenseman. Definitely would not fill a Vlasic or Dillon type role, but he'd be exciting to watch.
Yeah, I think if you lose another defenseman, like right now, I think you just let DeMello play. I don't think you need a 7th guy. I don't think we're going on any significant road trips coming up where you would call up a 7th guy, and you're gonna have to send someone down too, because like the cap's just not there to call up another defenseman, right? Unless you're moving, a guy like Vlasic to the LTIR, and we're not even gonna discuss that because we don't want
to think about it.
Right. So I think, you probably do, but I think if you were gonna call someone up, I'd like to see Tim Heed at the NHL level. I think that he would be interesting. And the one thing with the Sharks, I know I mentioned Mirko Mueller on my Twitter feed yesterday, and I just, the one thing is, like, when you try to think about these things, I don't always just go based on merit. I kind of go on history too. And it seems like, Mirko's gotten a lot of looks over the last couple of years. So Mirko coming up wouldn't shock me. Do I think it's the right move? No. So when I say these things, I'm not always advocating for a player to come up. I'm just saying, based on, the history of whatever, this is what I think might happen. I'll try to preface that better on Twitter.
Yes, AJ.
You guys can stop yelling at me.
Small Martin. That's what Joachim Ryan is Paul Martin 2.0. He's just really small.
Oh man, yeah. So yeah, I think the Tim Heed is the guy I'd like to see more of at the NHL level to see what he can bring. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping that things get a little stabilized here and we get some healthy bodies back, because this is getting a little concerning.
Yeah, last week we talked about the rash of injuries in the NHL, and Detroit lost 3 more guys last night, and then Vlasic went out, and boy, oh boy. I think Dylan DeMello poisoned the water for 2 players, and it like went through all the locker rooms in the league.
It was AJ, actually.
Oh.
All right. I think that's it. I don't think we have anything else to really go over here. So, Drew, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Please, for the love of God, Mark Outer Vlasic, be healthy. I can't live without you and your photos of dogs and your shutdown defense.
Oh, man. Kevin.
I'm at Kevin Lacey 22. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and well, that's about it. But again, pucknology.net, subscribe, blah blah blah. Also, check out an article or a blog post that Zach Boychuk just put up today. Zach Boychuk signed in the KHL, and he talked pretty transparently about what it's like to be a high-profile first-round pick. And just kind of have your career just coast and go bounce around from level to level, team to team, and whatnot. And then what happens over the summer when no teams come calling. I thought it was just a really interesting read. Follow at Zach Boychuk, and you'll find the link on his Twitter. So
he probably already follows you anyway.
That is very true. He has over 600,000 followers last I checked, and he also follows over 600,000 people. So,
guys, I love you, but the audio stream is just so crowded right now because of the back-to-backs and everything else and I don't have any more notes, frankly. So as much as I love to keep going, sometimes I have like an 8:30 class tomorrow. I don't want to be up any later than I need to be. But we appreciate you guys listening, and the fact that you want us to go on is touching. And obviously that makes us feel good. Going back into next week, obviously this week we didn't really hunt for questions because I knew this draft thing was going to eat a ton of time. But obviously next week we're back to the drawing board. Get your questions in. You can tweet them at me, DM them to me, DM the other guys. Doesn't matter to me. I make the notes though, so it's better if you DM them to me. But if you want to ask Drew or Kevin, that's fine too.
If you have any analytics question, send it to me.
Yeah, if you have an analytics question, send it to Drew. Absolutely. Okay. Also, obviously, tell everyone about the audio stream. Tell everyone about our channel. Obviously, we don't do the numbers that other shows on Pucknology does. I would like to change that a little bit. Yeah, we'd like to. I mean, so try and get the word out if you're looking for something without some of the craziness of some of the other shows, or if you're looking for a little bit more on the NHL in general. You have 3 smart guys telling you all about it. So please tell your friends. Tell 2 friends, and then they tell 2 friends.
Otherwise, this happens to us.
Right.
For the love of God, why can't I get past placeholder?
And they tell 2 friends, and they tell 2 friends, and so on, so on, so on. At I Read Pucknology on Twitter. Obviously, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, watching the show with us, and and for those who catch it on the replay, I will make sure that the pictures of the graphics for the teams being picked will be on the Pucknology post. Other than that, have yourselves a fantastic evening, and we will see you guys when we see you next, which I'm assuming Sunday, because there's no game next Sunday, right?
No. That's all. We have a couple more weeks before
we get preempted by
we're good.
Before we get preempted by the Westminster Dog Show.
Damn it! So. All right, guys. Have a good night.